We have another great episode for the podcast today. Episode 106, I think, which is a pretty cool number. We got a great guest. His name is Walter Ellis. He comes from the GCU Lopes basketball team out here in Arizona. Appreciate you coming on, man, and taking some time out of your weekend. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. How are you? I appreciate you having me.
I'm good. I'm excited for this. You're my first Division 1 player that's at least played in the tournament. So I appreciate what you coming on and stuff. But let's get right into it. You guys had a successful season, I'd say, for the least. We'll get into some of the real things that happened, but overall, I know some injuries happened with Javon going out with the torn ACL, Ray having to come and kind of pick up those minutes, and it's just an all around effort from the team. How do you feel you guys did this last season, and also it being your last?
I think it was funny because even I think reflecting on kind of the last month and what that's kind of been, it was a lot of frustration in the early part of the season because I think we knew the kind of caliber of team that we were, and I feel like we just dropped a lot of games in the regular season that we just felt like we didn't have to. And but that's why, like you said too, obviously finishing on a super high note because we kind of knew through that frustration the entire year. It was like, and I repeated this, and other guys have said it in their own different ways too. It was like once we click, like I don't think anybody really wants to see us like that. And I
Mm-hmm.
kind of had that confidence the whole year. It was just a matter of, and the frustrating part was like, why isn't it clicking? You know what I mean? But I think the last 6 games, like we had talked about, we kind of just found our groove and we just kept rolling with that. So I think once we hit March for us, it was, I don't know if it was necessarily a sense of desperation or what it was, but at that point we kind of drew a line in the sand almost. And we were just like, yeah, we kind of got to go out better than what we putting out.
24-12 on the year, 11-7 in conference, kind of like you said, that early stage, that frustration. And then I know Javon goes out with a torn ACL.
Yeah.
How much of a blow was that to, I guess, maybe the chemistry? I know he was kind of the lead guard, also with Ray, with Chance, with Kobe, you with and Noah too. But being a guy, having a guy that's been there, was in the tournament, what I think his freshman year or for like second year maybe. How much did that hurt the locker room? How did you guys keep the spirits up to kind of keep it going, even though you lost such a key player?
I think it's just funny because like, especially with a guy that's so like crucial to even outside of just our team, but even just GCU success over
Right.
you even being Division 1, like he's been such a big reason why GCU is what it is. And like outside of even just all of the coaches that have come in and out, all the different players that have come in and out, like he's been here for like the entirety of all of that since GCU's been really successful. So I think it was just weird at first because you have a guy that's so like key to even just GCU as a university and stuff like that in the basketball program, obviously. And once he's out, it was just like, oh, okay, this is kind of weird. But I think at the same time too, like we were with and without him, we have a bunch of really, really good pieces and stuff like that. And we were always really confident in that. It was more so just like the realization of like, oh shoot, like we don't have a choice now because we don't have Javon, you know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
all got to step up in our own ways and things like that. So it was more so just a shock at first. It was like, okay, this is weird. And it's like, okay, we got to push forward though. So,
He's the same age as me. So I remember hearing about him in high school.
yeah.
And I remember like seeing clips and he played my high school team and he like would bust guys'
Oh
ass.
yeah, no, they were insane in
It
high
was
school.
it
Yeah,
was
no,
stupid. Him and
yeah,
Jalen and I think who was on that team too? I think
they had a whole
Shamar
bunch of
Morrow and
yeah,
there was
no,
a
yeah,
bunch of
they were
dudes. It,
nice. No, they
it
were
was
serious.
it was ridiculous. But like we talked about before we started recording, we have a mutual friend in the middle of us with Pierre,
Mhm.
one of the best guys I think you can meet in the basketball
Yeah.
scene out here. Maybe just with him, I know you kind of he would even tell me you guys would work a bit when you had some free time outside of practice. What did you focus on most throughout the season to continue to, even though you would come off the bench for this team, be that spark plug if we need a couple of threes, to get a run going,
Mhm.
play that defense? What did you kind of work on throughout the year to keep going as a guy, as a player?
I mean, even just outside of kind of like the mental stuff that you take care of, I think really I have the same like routine with my shot that I would do every single day. And I think the reason why I think I got to that point is I remember when I was younger in my career, makes and misses would have a lot more weight to me, I think, at
Mm,
that point. And it wasn't a bad thing. These are kind of just things that you get more mature with over the course of your career. But and even as my numbers would show, it's like I always shot the ball. I mean, besides my freshman year, I didn't shoot that great, but I've always been a shooter since I've been in college. You know how it goes. So, but I think it's really like establishing like my routines and how much I need to do and how little I need to do at a specific time. And that's kind of why my routines ended up being what they were. Cause I mean, it's nothing crazy. It's just like I would do the same, get there about 10, 15 minutes before each practice. And just kind of do the same. Like I have the same routines that I do. It's basically make 10 free throws. And then there's kind of like some movement stuff that I do with my body, like mid-range shots. And then I move to three, kind of do, and Pierre would know this. I was like it's yeah, we do this stuff every day, but it's kind of I just made it into my routines and do that 10 to 15 minutes before each practice. And then after practice, me and our assistant coach, three in a row from 7 spots. And then in the last spot in the corner, go until I miss basically. So the minimum I had to make was 10 in a row to finish that spot. And then after that though, we go until I miss basically. So some days I think the highest I got over the season like 44 in a row or something like that. And then some days it would kind of depend on the day. And then we would just do that every single day though. So I think for me, especially as a guy who's, I guess the type of shots I'm taking are a lot more specific than somebody like Ray or something like that. Like for me, I just need to be able to make catch and shoot threes and then shots off the move. Like that's the majority of what I'm doing. Obviously, put the ball on the floor, get to a pull up here and there, and get to the rim, get fouled a little bit. But the majority of what I'm doing is playing off guys like Ray Sean and Josh and Cheese and all that kind of stuff. So it's, for me, that was kind of how I established my routines because those are the majority of the shots that I'm going to be taking, and that's just kind of how it lended itself, I guess.
For some of the people, I guess you can say like me, who say like, why can't he just make that wide open layup? Can you maybe describe to the casual college basketball NBA fan of how hard it is to play basketball at the Division I level? Because I don't think a lot of people really understand how like hard it is, regardless of conference you're in. We saw a team like Oral Roberts a couple years ago go to the Sweet 16. They came out of the blue. Princeton was in the Sweet 16 this year. Maybe just give, some insight for people that may think like, oh, it shouldn't be that hard.
I think
Please
it's
tell
even
them how hard it is.
yeah, I think it's even like you mentioned though, even with kind of like some teams that are kind of like coming out of nowhere. And I don't know if this necessarily has to do with the transfer portal or NIL. It's probably a combination of both, to be honest. But like basketball's a lot more even than it has been ever. And I mean, even the NCAA tournament now would show where we don't have any one seeds in the elite, which is weird. Like we've never had one seeds that happen, which is crazy.
It's so
But I
weird.
think with that being said, now it's funny too, because even a conference like the WAC, when I first came into college, when I was still at Bucknell, like the WAC wasn't a good conference. And just like now how in the Patriot League was a far better conference than the WAC was at the time. And now it's almost completely flip-flop, which is hilarious. But I think like you said too, I don't know if it's because when you're in it, you can't really speak to it, but it's always funny when and again, you don't really pay attention to stuff, nor you just don't really care about this stuff, even if you do hear it. But it's always funny occasionally when you hear like a fan that'll just be like, it'll be an open three that somebody misses or like a layup, and that's kind of contested, but like kind of not. They're like, just make it, and this, that, and the other. But like, it's just the funniest thing ever because I'm like it's when a bunch of NBA players will say it, and they're like if you guys were to hop on an NBA court, even for us like a Division I court, like the difference between us and like an average basketball player is like, and again, it's not to sound like cocky or conceited or anything like that, but it's just more of like, again, us compared to even just take like the worst conference in college basketball, whatever that may be, put them in an NBA game, like it's not, you see what I mean? So like take us compared to a high school team or something like that. Like obviously, yeah, or even just an average Joe, like, yeah, there's no chance. That's just how it is. But
And some of these guys are like the average height for some teams are like 6'5". Like I know you're 6'5", Gabe's
yeah,
what, like 6'8".
yeah.
Some of your big men. I know you got a freshman coming in next year.
We'll have 2 footers on the team next year. Like, yeah,
It's gonna be insane.
yeah.
So, but let's get back to it. You were at Bucknell for what, 2 years, correct?
3 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
Okay. Decided to move to GCU last year. While you were making your decision to decide where you were going to go, I'm sure a lot of schools were interested in you. What made GCU the best place for you?
At the time, I think Bucknell was great because it definitely gives like a way different type of like college feel than a place like GCU. Bucknell's more of so you have like the Ivy League and the Patriot League, which are like the two like academic conferences, Bucknell being in the Patriot. And it was a bunch of Ivy Leagues recruited me when I was in high school, and being able to go to a place like Bucknell, because I actually graduated in 3 years. That was a big part of me leaving, was a place like Bucknell, like that degree is valuable. You know what I mean? And I knew that. So with that being said, I didn't want to risk losing out on such a good degree just in the hopes of trying to get somewhere else for basketball and stuff like that. So that's why I ended up leaving in 3 years, because I was able to finish up my degree by then. But then after that, because I had gotten my degree from Bucknell, and obviously it was way different in terms of how school works there versus here. It was kind of cool for me to be able to come to a place like GCU and I'll be able to get my master's in business administration, which some schools have and some schools didn't have. But at GCU, the great part about it is also an online program. So it made basketball a lot more flexible for me and things like that. So it was kind of a combination of those things. And I just saw where GCU was headed in terms of where I thought the program could be by the time I was done with GCU. And really just want to be a part of that and like building up a culture and stuff like that. And yeah, just being a part of that growth. Like I kind of saw the vision that GCU had for where it was headed. And no, I really just kind of wanted to be a part of that and leave my mark on this place, which especially now that we've got a championship, I can close that chapter and a lot happier of a note, if that makes sense. So yeah, for sure.
I remember when I first moved here, it was Dan Marley, and
Mm-hmm.
people were pretty ecstatic, like, "Oh, Suns legends coaching this is gonna be great."
Yeah.
It didn't pan out. I feel like a lot of people hoped. Bryce Drew comes in, who you were coached by. How much of an influence has he had, or did he have when you decided to come here? I mean, 2 conference championships in 3 years before GCU. I don't know what their what their records were, what their championships were, but I mean, that's pretty unreal in a span of 3 years to be able to be that successful already. How much of did he play a part in it as well?
I think Coach Drew, me and him actually go back to when I was 14 years old. He was actually, when he was at Valparaiso before he was at Vanderbilt, his dad, obviously legendary coach at Valparaiso, and Coach Drew had a lot of success as a coach at Valparaiso as well. And Valparaiso was one of the best mid majors in the country at that point. That was thanks to him. With that being said, though, he was my first Division I offer when he was at Valparaiso. So like
Oh, wow.
me and him go back years at this point. So that's why when I got into the portal, one of the things, especially when they played against Iowa, they realized they needed shooting. And that was one of the things, obviously, among the other things that they wanted to go get in the transfer portal with guys like Tayshawn, Holland Woods, Aiden, Ivan, like all of us came in together. But after that, the biggest thing that they needed was like, we need shooting. And obviously, I shot the ball well at Bucknell for the 3 years I was there, but also just having like a larger wing that can guard and shoot at the same time. So it was kind of what they needed. But I think with Coach Drew too, he just has he he's really good X and O's wise and things like that. But he obviously a lot of credit has to go towards him for everything that GCU's been for the last 3 years. I think GCU's only been D1 for however many. Like obviously they're still new to it relatively, but I think like you said, being able to get 2 conference championships in 3 years is no easy feat for anybody. So obviously credit to staff and everybody like that for being able to make that happen. But yeah, for sure.
You were a part of, one of the most fun teams that I've seen the last couple of years this past year. Had the ESPN game, which we want to get into in a second. But yeah, 5th seed in the conference championship. We'll get into that too. What are some things you'll take away most from this successful season?
I think just the power that you have with a group of guys. Like I think like when you really have a group that's committed to winning, like we were in the last stretch of our season. Because again, I think we had recognized all of kind of like the faults that we have made and games that we let slip that we didn't need to and stuff like that. But I remember Ivan, and it's kind of like the infamous team meeting that Ivan called, but it was like we right before Southern Utah. It was after we lost on our senior night at Southern Utah. We met as a team for like probably 2.5 hours, just sitting in. It was literally 14 of us, all 14 of us just sitting, just talking about the whole season, where we have to go forward, and just everybody going around in circles, just talking to everybody. It was just a great conversation. And I think at that point, that was when I think we really just drew the line there of like, if we're going out, like we're not going out in this fashion of like, we're just going to give games away. Like we're not doing that anymore. Like that's just not what we're too good for that. That's how we felt. It's like, we're too good for that. But I think at that point too, when we went through that Utah trip and we'd shown what it, because again, we got down at Utah when we were at Southern Utah. They hadn't lost at home the entire conference season and stuff like that. So that wasn't an easy game for us to get. We were down, I think, 14 to start the game. And like we came to the timeout, we're just like, yo, we're not losing. And then stretch that out for 6 games and stretch it to the NCAA tournament. That was obviously great for us. But I think just the power that you hold within a group of guys, like, because then there seems like so much is out of your control sometimes and stuff like that. But when they really have a group of 14 guys that really just commit to each other and commit to winning, it's like it was just probably one of the coolest things I've seen in my career that I've been able to be a part of.
I was able to go to 2 games this season. I went to the Stephen F. Austin game back in February, and the first play of the game, y'all won the tip off, and I think it was Ray or Chance brought it. Gabe went like backdoor, it's like a half court lob. I've
Mhm.
never seen a college atmosphere go louder. I was like, holy crap. And
Yeah.
then of course I went to the ESPN U game, which was one of the most intense environments. I kind of hated how late the game was. I'm not gonna lie. I would love to
That's
get
how it
your
works.
opinion on that too. Um,
Yeah.
that ESPN game though, what was that like for you? When did y'all find out it was going to be on it? Of course, it's a bigger platform for a small school like you guys. What was kind of the days leading up to that like, and kind of the feeling around campus even?
I had actually known about it for a while because obviously with my dad doing college game day for ESPN, he was for 2 years while I was here, he was trying to figure out a way that they could get college game day here at GCU because obviously like atmosphere wise, like it would be like the coolest thing ever. But that's why I'd been aware of it for a while because they were trying to do something like that. It ended up working out. But I think when after it had become kind of hype around campus probably about a week before and you kind of saw some talks and some flyers going up around campus and things like that. But I think it was cool for me because I actually had COVID last year when they had an ESPN game against Abilene Christian last year.
Oh,
And I
dang.
so I was sitting in this exact same spot watching that game on ESPN last year. So I didn't get to have the ESPN game last year. But then this year, and that was a big game for us as well because that was again we had to show people kind of what we were about at home. Like we had felt like we had dropped some at home. We're like we can't go and lose this game, and not just came out. The energy was stupid that night. Like yeah, obviously you were there, you got to experience it too. Fans were tremendous that night. We just felt like energy wise, like there was no way they came in with more energy than us. And that was we just kicked it off on a high note. I shot well that game, which was fun. It was good to be able to do that at home, and then everybody else we were just having fun doing what we do. So that was a big one for us.
There was one dude on that court, I forget who it was for Abilene Christian. They kept pointing at the student section and like
Mhm.
showing, I don't know his name, but guy was a bum. I think he got hurt too. He like twisted his ankle or something.
That's right.
Um,
Okay, yeah, I remember.
at 6'5", though, you came off the bench this year, more of that spark plug role, like we were talking about. Shot really well from the field this year, 45% from three, 49.5% from the field. What training did you dive into again most, kind of just with the guys, to make those like percentages go up from last year, especially?
I think it was actually hard because I had hip surgery back in May, so I actually didn't get this off season to really work out like I wanted to. And if I didn't have my surgery, I was excited to be able to have an off season where I really just committed to going out of my last year as best as I could and with my game as fluid as it could possibly be. So obviously I just felt like I didn't feel behind. It was just that I didn't get an off season of work where other guys did. So that's why I felt like going into the season, I was always going to be like curious to see what it was like once I started playing again. And since my first practice back there, like I felt great. Like my hip felt great, shot felt better than it was last year. And I think it was kind of just a product of allowing my body that time to rest and get healthy, but also hit the ground running once I was cleared to come back. And Pierre would know this as well. Before my surgery, it's like I was healthy enough to work out all the way up until the day of my surgery. So it's like me and
Wow.
Pierre, we were in the gym every day before I was having surgery. So I still got about a month of work in. It was just kind of like dimmed down to where if I was hurting like that day, I couldn't obviously do it. But I think it was really just goes back to the routines, like I had told you. At this point in my career, I think it's easier to do too much than it is to do too little. I think when I was younger, I used to push a lot more, would have shoulder tendonitis. I call it like stress shooting, like panic shooting. Like if I missed, say I shot 2 for 6 that game from three, I'm like in the gym shooting 1,000 shots afterwards. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to like prove to myself that I can make shots. And I think as you go over, you just don't do that stuff that like kills your body as much. So I think it was really just a product of my routines. My teammates finding me when I'm open, having the confidence in me to shoot the ball. So I think it's really just a combination of those things, to be honest.
Do you think a lot of athletes, especially basketball players, deal with that kind of stress where I know all of us, I'm sure have heard stories of JJ Redick, even I've heard his summer workout
Yeah,
schedule, and that was absurd.
yeah.
Kobe, I know, did it a lot. KD goes through 1,000 shots, Steph. But even just for regular people, you have a bad shooting night, you have more turnovers than shots, more turnovers than points, stuff like that. Do you guys get in that? Like, how bad does that mental state get? I guess to be able to, like you said, have a bad shooting night and then I gotta go shoot 1,000 shots to make myself feel like I did something.
Everybody kind of has their own like unique journey with their confidence because I feel like confidence is such an underrated aspect of college, like even just athletics in general. Because even if you're not playing well, like if your confidence is right, it'll take you like super far to a place that you don't even think are possible. But I think
Right.
with all that though, again, like I mentioned, everybody kind of has their own different journey. I think for me, I just had really good vets around me. It's like when I was a freshman, like my vets, my seniors that I had my freshman year at Bucknell. So this is Nate Sassini, he plays in Turkey right now. Kimmel McKenzie, he plays in the UK, and then Nate Jones and Matt O'Reilly. Like they were my four seniors when I was at Bucknell, and like just gaining so much wisdom from them, even when they were gone. Like my sophomore year, I remember, or it was my junior year. We only played like 14 games that season, and to start off, I was shooting like 5 for 25 from three. I was like terrible from three. I'm a junior at this point, so I'm pretty mature at this point. But I had a big shooting drought, and I was like, bro, like I called Kimball, and he plays in the UK, and I'm like, big bro, like I can't throw a freaking rock in the ocean right now. Like, and it was stuff like from him. He was like, just so much wisdom coming from guys like that. And his point at that time was like, well, like you taking good shots for us doesn't hurt us. Like, so even if you're missing, take those shots because you shoot a ball at a 40% clip for your career. Like you're going to make shots, keep shooting the good ones. And then after that, I ended up finishing the season. So I think like 50% from three or something like that over the next course of games. And so like I said, I think just having really good vets and people that can speak a lot of wisdom into you, I think it just helps a lot. Because I think you start to learn how to like laugh at misses and stuff like that, even to the point now where guys know when I'm in practice or if I'm in a game and I miss one that like I know I could have made, like you'll see me kind of like laughing running down the court because it's like it's almost like a laugh of like disbelief, almost like I shouldn't, you know. So I think it's just being able to look at things in the right perspective, and then again having routines that you can kind of maintain your confidence in a way that's not dependent on the makes or misses in game, I guess.
Speaking of vets, your dad, of course, played in the league for 11 years, fifth overall pick in the draft. What type of advice or encouragement, things you've been through that, of course, he's been through and tried to help you through? What type of words of wisdom, advice has stuck with you that he said from your time when you were at Brewster in high school, getting recruited to now?
I think there's so much stuff. And the funny part is, I think basketball is where a lot of it will be channeled through, but there's so much even life stuff that me and my pops talk about on a daily basis that has nothing to do with basketball, but it all kind of blends
Right.
in. I think I'm just blessed to have the relationship with my parents that I do, because even I have three older brothers and sisters, but they were all out the house before I was in like middle school. So like a lot of me growing up, I was like just with my mom and my dad. And I think being able to travel with them all across the country with through AAU and even travel the world with foreign tours with Bucknell and stuff like that, like there's been so much that I think I've gone through in my career and even just my life that they've also been vulnerable with me about letting me know where they were at when they were 23 years old and stuff like that. So I think all of that to say basketball and off the court stuff, it's just, especially talking about my dad, there's just so much that he speaks to me on the daily basis about. And it's not even really that he's trying to speak wisdom. It's more so just like the relationship that we have, that he's able to share stuff with me and I'm able to kind of bounce stuff off of him. And so I think obviously that's just the biggest blessing to be able to have somebody like that in my life, because he's done basketball at the highest of every level. And being able to get that wisdom from him over my career is obviously just a blessing to have him in my corner, obviously. So
We're gonna get into the Gonzaga game in a second, but I saw, of course, he was at the game off duty. He probably
yeah,
could have been working, but he was in your
right,
t-shirt sitting in
right,
the
right,
crowd.
right,
How
right.
much did it mean to you being able to have, like, it seemed like your entire family there, not just him, but your entire family watching you on the biggest stage of them all when it comes to college basketball?
It's really sweet, I think, just for me and my family in general, just because there was so much I think that's happened over the last, we'll say 6 weeks, even that there's been so much that's just been really, really full circle for me in my career. Even at GCU, kind of having inconsistent minutes over 2 years and then finishing my career at GCU playing the best basketball of my, you know what I'm saying, of my career at GCU. And all that while also getting a championship that I haven't been able to do for 5 years.
Right.
Also having the first round tournament game being played in Denver where my dad got drafted and played for 7 years. Like there's just been so
Wow.
many things. There's been so many things that I think God's worked out that again, I can't like, it's like, there's something like I couldn't have made this up if I tried. Like there's just so many things that I think have happened over the last 6 weeks that it's just been a blessing to be able to close my college career off on this note. But I think having my family there too, because that city just means a lot to my family. And I wasn't born there because I was born in Atlanta after he had left Denver, but that had always kind of felt like home through all the reunions that we used to go to and even go to Denver Nuggets games when I was a kid. And just knowing like how much that community loves my dad, and then also how much he loves that community and things like that. Going back there and just being able to talk to old friends and even having doing media with people that used to cover him and stuff like that. Like there's just so many things like that that it was just really cool to have my family there for that whole process. Because I remember even calling my mom, FaceTiming her throughout the conference tournament in Vegas. And we were just laughing because it was like, I don't like have to call my mom or anything like that. I would just call her. She'd be like, yeah, like, what's up? I'm like, I just want to share this moment with, you know what I'm saying, with you, because it's good. You know what I'm saying? So I think just having the people who have really been through everything in my career with me, like side by side, being my parents, like being able to have them there to in that moment was really obviously special for me. And then my brother and sister-in-law, my little niece as well. It was cool to have them there too.
Um, let's get into kind of the back end of the season, how you guys finished strong. Also want to hit on the atmosphere of GCU games you kind of talked about. It is intense. Probably the most intense environment I've ever been in regarding a college basketball game. What makes the Havocs, the student section of things like 3,000 students, so dope? And I'll say this is like your recruiting pitch to all the guys in the transfer portal right now, possibly talking to the coaching staff. What should they know about GCU if they are getting recruited by them to possibly come and play for them next season and, however many future seasons?
The lead pastor at GCU, me and him have gotten really close over the last 2 years. And I remember he came to talk to us before the season. He was just saying, especially for all our new guys and things like that, the words that he said, it was just like, GCU is a place that if you buy into GCU, like, people will love you here. You know what I mean? And I think my experience being, I know it's easy for athletes kind of get caught up in their bubble, kind of just move how they move and stuff like that, because it's kind of a demanding thing to be in. So I understand that. But even just through my clothing brand or just being on the court and people getting to know me and stuff like that, it's been cool for me because without really having to force it upon myself to try to make relationships with people, it's like I just feel like I have a community of people here that like are behind me and I don't even necessarily know these people that well and all that kind of stuff. But it's one of those places that if you buy into the community here, it's like they'll do anything for you to make it to games, to make sure that we have a good crowd in Denver for our March Madness game. It's like any game we play, it never feels like a road game. Like it doesn't happen for us. Like I don't know if I've ever been in a gym where I felt like, dang, they have way more people here than we do. Like it just never feels like everywhere we go, we travel. And then so I think for the Havocs too, and then so even like the Havoc leaders and stuff like that, I've been able to get a pretty good relationship with them over the last 2 years and just always like really showing as much appreciation for them as I can, because like they make it happen here. Like the way it's organized, the way they handle everything, it's not just like, oh, show up to a basketball game. Like no, they're setting up stuff a week and a half advance. They're giving out flyers on game day. They're doing little tents and stuff like that, so everybody makes sure that like, okay, if you don't have plans tonight, you're coming to the basketball game. Like that's just so even for us, like I laugh because like looking at my window now, there's like the route that I would walk up to games and stuff like that. Like as I'm walking up, there's fans backed up all the way to freaking Chick-fil-A, bro. Like, yeah. And that's all the way back by my crib. It's like a 5-minute walk. Fans packed all the way. And then you're walking in and everybody's screaming at you and this, that, and the other. Then you get into the game and it's like, yeah, it's the most, like, every single home game is just the most, like, ooh, turned up type of vibe ever. And it's just, yeah, it's hard not, like, and a guy for me who's very much like an energy guy, like we've talked about, it's like, I love this stuff. Like, I don't know if it's coming from Indiana high school basketball where you have the biggest gyms in the country. Like, I don't know if that's it, but like, big crowds, like I love this. Yeah, it's like it's fun for me. And I think you've been at games, you kind of see how I interact with the crowd and interact with fans and stuff like that. Like basketball is fun. And like GCU, there's no more fun place to play in the country, I think, than GCU. Which it's been fun for me to play for 2 years. Like it just fits my personality well. Because
we'll talk after because I need to buy a shirt from.
I got one right. Yeah, I got some extras, and I got my last little order I'm about to put together, and yeah, I still got stuff coming. So you're all good. I got you.
Oh, sweet. Let's talk about the back end of the season. Finished 5th in the conference with that record. I know you started off kind of slow. Y'all picked up. I got your schedule up. Since that Abilene Christian game, y'all won 94-84. You played Park University, and it was 111-38. That didn't even seem probably fun for y'all. I know you got. I think you guys played in what, the practice gym or the Arc, right?
Yeah, we played in practice gym. That was hilarious. Yeah, that was fun.
Took a tough loss to Seattle University, but then the tournament happens pretty much after that. Talk about that Utah trip, 83-78 Southern Utah, 71-61 against Utah Tech. Then the tournament happens. UT Arlington, you guys take care of business, 82-77. Beat Seattle, 84-79. You guys beat the number 1 seed in the conference in the semifinal, 78-75. That's Sam Houston for people that want to know. And then y'all win 84-66 against Southern Utah. It seemed like a GCU home game. I was watching it at my girlfriend's place, and I'm like, there. Where were you guys even? Utah, right? Or
The
oh no,
conference
yeah,
tournament in Las
you're in
Vegas.
Henderson, right?
In Vegas, yeah, in Las Vegas, Orleans Arena, yeah.
I would have taken the trip up if I knew it was that close. It was
They
in
do it every year, yeah, yeah.
after that Seattle game. I follow the account. You guys seem fired up and like really like we are coming for the championship. We want to make that tournament. And I'll tell you a funny story too, real quick regarding the tournament. After the Stephen F. Austin game, I'm walking down the stairs with my brother and my girlfriend, and there's these two older guys, like older dads, probably maybe their kids go to the school. I don't know. They're walking in front of us, and all I overhear them say, "Yeah, this has been a good season. We'll probably get knocked out in like the first round. Probably got to build
Yeah.
upon this." So it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
he
Oh
was
yeah.
like, "Oh
We
yeah,
heard all
well,"
that
he's like,
last week.
"We'll be fine." It's like we just gotta like cherish these last couple of games because we'll probably not go far. And then y'all, I should have texted every single one of you guys that I heard these
Oh
two.
yeah, no, we heard all that. No, yeah, yeah, yeah. We said too, like we felt like we're not gonna say the school, but we felt like the school turned their backs on us. We felt like our games, we weren't getting as many fans at our games. Love the Havocs though, they were still solid, but like
Right.
we weren't getting as many people at the games anymore. We felt like administration was talking down on us, that we were trash, that we were about to make anything happen. We saw everything on Twitter that everybody was saying how Coach Drew sucks. He needs to recruit some players that aren't soft, that aren't this, that. No, we saw it
I
all.
didn't see that.
Oh yeah, we saw it all. We like, yeah, that's the type of team we were to like. We kind of, I mean, we needed to hear it though, because I think not all of it is true and stuff like that. But like, yeah, we took all that, like, yeah, and it wasn't that we took it personal, but it was like, yeah, watch, because I think for us though, even getting back to the last 6 games, it's like we all knew that like we were supposed to win. Like we all knew that we weren't supposed to be the 5th seed. We were definitely supposed to be a top 2 seed. Like we felt like we just dropped so many games that we didn't have to, and we just wouldn't. We weren't putting it out on the floor like we feel like we could have. But so like everybody is like, yeah, everybody ain't giving up on us. That's why we all felt like for us, it's like not in a disrespectful way, but you kind of have to be like, no, we're doing this for us. Like, because everybody after the game when we win the championship, I see people on the court. Can I see the trophy? This, that, and the other. I'm like, you were the same person. You were the same person I was about to get rid of everybody 2 weeks ago. And you're asking me, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it was a lot of that. But I think for us too, like, again, that's why as players, like, we really just drowned everything out. We were like, bro, like, as a group of 14, we're too nice for this, bro. Like, we're way too good to be. And again, we might lose a game, but like the way we're just giving people games, like that's not like we're not doing that anymore. So that's why it was funny though with the way everything ended, because it was like, yeah, you see people on the court that was talking crazy for like, bro. I'm telling again, we know how information travels around GCU. So like you get to hear
Right.
who's what. You watch people during the games and how they're reacting after we lose and stuff like that. And then we got the trophy. They're on the court like, we're champions. We're champions. Like, we? Who is we? Like, who you were? Yeah, you were not with us 2 weeks ago. Now you're in Vegas living great because we just got a chip. Like, no, that's not how this is about to work. That's not how this is about to work. But yeah.
They're
And then
going out on the town
even getting
probably.
on the plane, going to Denver too. You see people that like again, you know the people who's talking crazy and doing all this and that, and then they're the same people. Like I see, they're getting on our plane going to Denver. I'm like, that's crazy. That's worse. That's crazy. Like, yeah. Y'all are welcome. Appreciate it. Yeah.
You guys take care of business against Southern Utah in a great display of offense. It seemed like just knocking down everything. You get the draw. So yeah, win the conference championship. You get the draw against Gonzaga, and we're giving them business for like 12 minutes. Honestly, I was fired up. I'm like sitting watching. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is great. Talk to me though about what your overall thoughts on what happened for a college basketball team like this in the span of that 2 to 3 weeks regarding the conference championship and then the tournament.
Bro, it honestly felt like a blur because like we went from we were in Utah that entire week because we left on we play on Wednesday, so we left on Tuesday. We were gone Tuesday to
Saturday, I think it was.
Saturday, and then we get back. We're barely home for a day, and we have to dip out to Vegas. We're in Vegas for the whole week, and we had to play on a Tuesday. Remember, because we didn't get a top 4 seed, so we had to play on that Tuesday against UT Arlington. So we were basically straight from Utah Tech prep straight into like, okay, let's practice for a day, but we got to get to Vegas because we got a game we got to prepare for on Tuesday. And it was just, we had a day in between, and then it was 3 games back to back to back. So it was 4 games in 5 days. So it's like, that was, you know what I'm saying? That was pretty insane for us to do. And then after that, after we win, like didn't sleep the night we won the championship and then get on the bus the next morning at like 7 or 8, bus back to Phoenix, have the selection show, get our bid or whatever, practice for a day and a half, really, fly to Denver, and then we're in Denver for the whole week. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that whole 3 weeks, it really was like a blur for us because we were home, I think 3 or 4 days for that entire 3 weeks. So it's like, yeah, it really was a blur. It was fun though, because it was like, again, ending your career on that type of note, but I think ending our season on that kind of note, it was just fun for us because it was like, I think it made all the adversity that we went through, it just made it all so much more worth it because it was like, yeah, we're on the road. Like, we've been on the road for 3 weeks. We don't care. We're just trying to win as many games as possible. Like, we were just really focused on whatever game we had in front of us. So it was like, it felt like a blur, but we were definitely enjoying ourselves and just being able to enjoy the moment of like, not like we did something really special. And this is cool to be a part of for sure.
I hate Drew Timmy. I'm not gonna lie to you. Because at the beginning of that game, I'll be honest, I hate how he does his post moves because he'll back down the big guy, and then all of a sudden you see his big ass like right arm come and hook the back of the defender, and I'm like screaming at my TV. I'm like, offensive foul, offensive foul. Talk to me about that game. It was a tough blow, I guess you could say, to be able to match up with a team like that. What was kind of the thoughts before going up against a team like Gonzaga, and how did you feel you guys played against such a tough team like that?
I think we actually, like, for the draw, I mean, we're a 14 seed, so we're going to play a 3. So it's like
Right.
you're not really going to be excited about a potential matchup necessarily like you would be if you were, say, a 10 seed or something like that. But I think for us, we're looking at kind of the 3 seeds, and I think it wasn't like, oh, the 3 seeds are weak. It was nothing like that at all. It was more so just like, I think Gonzaga's deficiencies play well into what we do well. And I think that's what that was our attitude kind of going in. And obviously their offense is number 1 in the country. So that's no joke. Trust me, we didn't take that lightly, but it was more so I think, like I said, that we're a confident group, and the way we went into it, it was like, I remember even saying in the locker room before the game, I'm like, y'all, they got to guard us too, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, we got to guard them, but it's like, especially with our offense, how it was clicking for that 6-game stretch that we put together in March, it was like, we have guys that you don't really know who's going to get off. We had games where Ray and Gabe were both in foul trouble, and we still did that game in the conference tournament. We had games where Noah Bauman snaps off for 15 back-to-back games, like 2 straight games. Kobe Knox had 21 off of 6 threes. Like, that's like we've had that happen where, so like, I think for us, it wasn't really we weren't really like scared going into that game. Because the other thing is too, you notice is like the pressure's on them. Like, nobody cares if we lose. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, ooh, yeah, we're here and nobody's expecting us to win. Like, we play well in underdog situations. We play well in altitude. So it's like, I think going into that game, we're really confident too, because it was more so just like, their offense is going to be hard to guard because their pace is crazy. They play at the fastest pace in the country.
Yeah.
They offensive rebound like heck. Drew Timmy's annoying as heck to try to guard because he's really nice in the post. Like, Strother shoots the ball really, really well. He's 6'7". He comes off his zooms really, really well, gets to his right hand really well. But I think for us too, it was like, if we can get enough stops and if we can stay hot for long enough, like, we like our chances. Like you saw in that first half, like, we were playing. And again, there were some stretches in the first half where we were just trading buckets back and forth. And I was joking with my mom, we were talking about, I was like, I feel like the way to beat a team like Gonzaga is you just have to have one of those games where you stay hot and hopefully you get enough like offensive rebounds and make sure they don't get that many. Like, that's kind of the them, because you're not going to stop them from scoring too much. Like, their offense is, I'm telling you, like, as a person who's played against them, they're number 1 in the country in offensive efficiency
for a reason.
They run their offense really well. It's no joke. But at the same time, like, they hedge ball screens with Ray. Ray was really good at reading hedges all year. Chance was really good at reading hedges. And the thing with hedges too is it brings the person who's guarding guys like me and Noah into it because they have to tag the big that's rolling for us. So it's like the stuff that they did on defense, we were like, we feel like if we can stay hot enough and then make enough shots, like we like our chances. And I think in the second half, we just hit that drought for, I think it was like a 6 to 9 minute drought where we couldn't freaking buy a bucket. And that's kind of what killed us. But I think we don't really like look at a game like that. We don't really hang our heads though. Cause I think, again, we spotted them 7 points early. It was 7-0 to start the game. And then we have that stretch in the second half where the ball just wouldn't roll in for us. So it's like, and again, we lost by 12 to a team that's going to the Elite Eight, like might go to the Final Four tonight. So I think for us, it's like, obviously there's the disappointment of like, we felt like we could have beat them, but no, they're Gonzaga. They play really good basketball. They're like, the reason why they're in the Elite Eight, like that's not fluke. Like, I'm just like, you know, like, they're a really good basketball team. You know, I know they're a 3 seed this year. I know they're not the Gonzaga of years past, but like, they're a really, really good basketball team. So it's like, no, there's nothing to hang our heads at all.
Did you find out if it was a real school or not? Because I know there's that fake rumor going around that Gonzaga isn't the real place and they just produce basketball talent like no other and are
I
always
know
good for some
the
reason.
only reason I would know that it is because my brother and my sister-in-law, they live up in Spokane with my
Okay.
niece. And then I know some people that like, yeah, I got some people like Gonzaga, like you know,
Ra-
like
Speaking of Ray, he just about punched it on that
yeah,
drive to the
that was
basket. I was about to
yeah,
lose my mind.
yeah.
I don't know what would have happened in college basketball if he dunked that. I
No,
think
he would have dunked that.
Gonzaga
That
would
would
have
have
been
been
afraid of him.
that was what was funny is because like I think playing in March Madness this year, it didn't ruin March Madness for me, but like you're not focused on the other things as much as like I'm not
Right.
focused on the first round games as much as I would be in years past. Like I'm playing. It's like I'm not even really realizing. But then it's funny because like you leave the game and then you go like you check Twitter and Instagram and things like that. And it's like no, like everybody was just watching that game. Like, you know what I'm saying? And we were winning in the first half. Like we were lit for a second. So it's like that's why I say we put on a show for a little bit. So like I can't be, you know, obviously we would have loved to get a win and we felt like we were capable of that. But like all things considered, it's like no, we showed people what we can do. So
Just a couple more questions for you.
oh good.
I know we were supposed to do this a couple of days ago. Told me how to reschedule just because of some transfer stuff that happened. I don't know if verbal commits was reporting it right. Came out and said Aiden is leaving and
Yes.
Chance is leaving as
Yes.
well. Have you heard of anybody else that's thinking about it? And also, of course, I'm sure you found out about it right away because of these are your teammates, but was it tough having to say goodbye to these guys that I'm sure a lot of people were hoping to stay, but have kind of were not surprised that, we're leaving for probably a bigger stage?
No, I think that's I think the relationships that we have on our team is even throughout the year, like we're able to be very honest about GCU and where how guys fit into our program and things might be wanting more of or want a different experience in this way or whatever that is. But I think that's why I said it's like our relationships on our team again, like that group of 14 I'm telling you about, it's like it extends so much farther beyond like, oh, you're my teammate. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like that's why even with Aiden in his situation, Aiden graduated this year and he has his last year eligibility left. So for him, obviously really excited about the opportunity for him to go prove himself at a different place. And that's where if he feels like that would be best at a different school, just like Chance for that matter. It's like that's their decision. Like I'm just excited about where they could end up so I can go watch them play. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, for all of us, it's obviously sad because it's bittersweet because of all the memories and stuff like that. And even for us, like we want to like now we can say this, and I can say this now after being away from it. Like we want a championship together here. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like that's not light. You don't carry that lightly. Like obviously you love every team you're on, but it's like when you're cemented with somebody in the rafters forever, like that holds a lot of weight. So but I think for us, like we said, is we know the reasons why guys leave. Like we know their reasoning why, whether they're telling us or whether we just know because of their situation this year. Is like we know why guys are leaving. So it's
Right.
never an issue like dang, this guy's sub is like that doesn't exist, like not with us anyway. Because again, we none of us, anybody that's left GCU or anything like that, like it's never been in a at least as players. Like I can't speak for coach, I can't speak for administrator, I can't speak for fans or whatever. But like as players, it's like you got to do what's best for your career, bro. Like I love you to
Right.
death. I want you to go hoop wherever that is. Like obviously, I'd love for that to be at the school that I'm at, but you got to go do. You know what I'm saying? You got to go take care of business. So I think obviously sad to see these guys go, especially at a place that like I value so much, like GCU being able to have a championship here in my last year and all that kind of stuff. But no, guys got to do what they got to do. That's just how the college basketball world is right now. So you got to do what you got to do.
Uh, just to wrap up some of the stuff that we've been talking about, who are you picking for the tournament? Because this is the most wild tournament I think I've seen in years. I haven't paid a lot of attention to college basketball outside of you guys. I know though that this was one of the years that there's been I don't know how many different one seeds in the AP top 25. Of course, Fairleigh Dickinson gets the win against Purdue, which was freaking awesome to see.
Yeah,
But
right.
you got Mr. New York City at Kansas State, Marquise Noel, who's just balling out of control. It seemed like in that Sweet 16 game. Who are you picking to win this
But
tournament?
this it's funny because even before I got on here, I told you like that's the hardest question I've been asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I'm like, I literally have no idea. My pick was Alabama. Like I thought Alabama was
Mhm.
going to take it all the way through, but it didn't happen. I also like Houston a lot. They went down too. I think right now though, like I have to look at the rest of the field. I like Gonzaga just because it's like it really is like it's hard to guard. Like it's hard to stop them on offense. Like it just is. Like you can do like you can scout a bunch of things, but they run their offense really, really well. They have really good pieces and they all just play really well off of each other and stuff like that. Like so I like Gonzaga, and I don't know if there's just personal bias, but like I do like Gonzaga. But I'm hoping for K-State. I'm a Kansas State fan. I'm a Jerome Tang fan. Like yeah, no. And so I'm hoping that they can keep going because yeah, obviously the brand of basketball they play, what Jerome Tang stands for as a coach and stuff like that. Like yeah, yeah, I'm a big fan of their program and things like that. So
And of course, with this like the Keontae Johnson story,
yeah,
I mean, it's just an all around good story for college
yeah, no,
basketball. Well, I
for sure.
appreciate you coming on. Every time I have a player on, we always wrap up with favorite on court shoe. I know you rocked a lot of different stuff. I saw on your TikTok, you bought a pair of Kobe's for the round of 64 game,
Bro,
and
and they
more of
ripped,
those.
bro. And they, you know, what's funny? If you go back and watch the film, I switched my shoes at halftime because
Oh,
those
really?
I kid you not. So I got some Kobe 8s. They were the superhero ones, like the elite ones that they did for the playoffs back when they used to do
Okay.
like the playoff editions or whatever. So he had I got those, got them overnight shipped. Shout out my guy Kellen on social. He got them overnight shipped to the hotel in Denver. I shot around in them the day before. They were cool, like it was fine. We had a little open practice. I kid you not, I probably got like 10 good game minutes out of them. And then the outsole, like where the glue was, started like falling off. So it was like slapping up on the bottom of the shoe.
Oh,
And
jeez.
I almost told my manager mid game, like, bro, can you go get a different, like, cause I can tell him, like, go grab my purple Kobe's or whatever. But like, I was like, I gotta make it through halftime because like they just look too smooth. Like, I have to make it through halftime. And then I made it halftime though, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, can I stretch a whole another half of these? Like, should I stretch? Should I try? And I'm like, no, there's no way. So I switched to my purple ones. The funny part was I didn't have my insoles because the Kobe 8s and Kobe 9s that I was wearing, those have like their own unique midsole
Right.
and insoles. So like you don't need your own like insoles, but I wear orthotics like in my other shoes that don't have that, like in my Kobe 5s, like I have the insoles. But in the bag, I had two pairs of Kobe 5s. It was my gold ones, the undefeated ones, and then there was a pair of KLs, which is like the PEs that I got. And both of those I didn't have insoles for them. So I had to wear the purple ones. And
Oh,
I didn't really want
jeez.
to wear the purple ones, but I had to wear the purple ones. So that's actually, if you go watch again, I had two different pairs of shoes on for each half because my green ones that I got for the tournament, they busted right through them because they're just 11 years old. So
I'll
like,
go
yeah.
back and look after this because now I'm curious to see because I didn't catch it at all.
And I'm pissed because all my picks are, of course, in the purple ones, bro. Like, I only have a couple picks of me in the green ones, bro. And it would have been so much harder if they would have been all green. But yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, part of life.
Walter, I appreciate you coming on and chopping it up with me for the last little bit. Before we get out of here, anything to shout out?
Shout out my brand. I run a clothing business called No Bad. NoBad.shop is the website. You can hit me on Instagram at 55wall or at nobad.co. That's all I got.
Well, man, I appreciate you coming on. Best of luck to you in your future. Uh,
Good, brother.
I'm excited to get this shirt now. I'm gonna
Yeah, I
rock
got you,
it now every once in a while.
I got you.
But
I'll get to, yeah, I got you. I'll get to details later. I got you.
I appreciate you coming on, man. Wish you nothing but the best of luck.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, brother.